I wanted to take a minute today to talk about one of the most misused terms in audio, stems. We're going to talk a little bit about what they are and what they're good for, so let's get right to it. Here I have a Pro Tools session from a project I did a few years ago, and as you can see, each instrument was captured on its own individual audio file during the recording. So I have the congas on one track, I have the bass on the next track, and guitar on the next track, and so on and so forth. These are what we refer to as tracks, unprocessed audio files that originated from a single source during a session. I have used the tracks to make a quick mix by assigning the output of each track to the main outputs, and this is how most people do their mixes. Let's bounce that down to a stereo file. Now let's look at a different way of working. Here, instead of simply routing everything to the main outputs, I have created groups for each family of instruments. I have a drum group, a guitar group, a vocal group, and an effects group. So now, let's take these groups and let's actually record them to some new audio tracks. So I have created 4 tracks here in red that are labeled my stems that correspond with my groups. I have a stem for drums, stem for guitar, stem for vocals, and a stem for my effects. Let's go ahead and record that back into my session. Okay, so these files in red are our new audio files, and we refer to these as our stems. As you can see, a stem is not an individual audio file. It's the result of combining multiple files, along with any other of the processing and automation, into a new file that contains a part of the mix, but not the entire mix. Okay, so now let's make all the original tracks inactive and play back our mix from the stems. I'll be switching between the stem playback and this blue audio file, which is our original stereo mix, for some comparison. So here we go.
Be here now and we can find another way. There's no reason at all.
As you can see, there is no difference between the mixed stems and the stereo mix. So what are the applications for this? The first is what we call a mix-minus mix. Stems allow you to subtract an element from a studio mix to create a file that can be used for other purposes. The most common use is the practice of removing the vocals to make a backing track of the song for performances. A studio can also use stems in a mix to capture analog processing that wouldn't be available if they go to a different studio. Finally, stems are useful when collaborating and you want to commit to a certain balance of instruments. Let's say you make a beat for a hip-hop track and you don't want another engineer to stray too far from your mix. By simply breaking your beat into stems like kick, bass, pads, and leads, you can easily convey what your intentions are for the track, but still give another engineer some flexibility. Now let's say your collaborator adds a vocal that is conflicting with your pads. The engineer could then process just the pads to make room for that vocal while leaving your drums, bass, and leads completely untouched. As you can see, stems are a powerful tool in the studio, but they are quite different from tracks. I hope this video helps clear up some of the confusion about stems and you can apply this knowledge to your work.